So, John, I saw a pretty sweet meme the other day. It was a picture of John Connor doing this,
Yeah, yeah.
and it says, John Connor watching y'all make friends with AI.
Welcome to Faith, Freedom, and Fitness, the podcast where God, government, and gluten collide. Introducing your host, John Turk, a former police officer, fitness cover model, and the real-life inspiration behind Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. He is joined by Michael Wayne Foster, a former school teacher, actor, and model who's graced the covers of over 800 romance novels. Get ready for the F3 podcast.
You know, we should go right into Terminator and talk about how it's basically happening. You know, the lady that did Terminator, that wrote it, she's a black lady. And supposedly she wrote it after the Bible. And it's the Bible story twisted where the rebirth of mankind and all these things in there that are in line with how the Terminator played out. But if you look at it, think about everything going on right now with AI. I mean,
we're living the rise of the machines right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about all this crazy stuff, all the way from, AI to sex bots, how that's going to change it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing that I hear a lot about is they talk about how population, as far as the population of this country, we could be in trouble with, childbirth moving forward because guys just aren't interested in getting in relationships anymore and all the stuff that goes along with it. And I mean, there's a million different topics we can go on to why they're not doing it, but just men in this country are not looking to be married anymore. And we're not reproducing. So there's going to be some scary, I don't know. There's a lot of scary stuff on the way. The population's already going down. So maybe it doesn't take Skynet to come with actual robots and kill us. Just sit around and give us, make us, how do I say this? Make things difficult between men and women, and then introduce live sex porn bots. And the next thing you know, it's like, I don't need one of those yelling at me, or I'm going to take a chance to get, if I marry her, she can take half, now that divorce is high, all that stuff. So it's just I'm just going to stay at home.
Yeah. The whole situation is stinks. And when you think about it, they knew AI was coming. So I think the whole thing with the COVID vaccine, I think with the whole transgender thing, I really feel like they know with AI, they're going to knock out probably 40% of the workforce. And they're going to have a lot of people they're not going to know what to do with. And what do you do with people like that, right?
Soylent Green.
Yeah. You get rid of them.
Yep.
Maybe a vaccine that's starting to kill a lot of people and already has killed a lot of people that they keep denying. So people keep getting more boosters. I know so many people with heart problems, people that have, cancer that's just out of control. I mean, and it's funny here. I'll tell you a real quick story. I went into ChatGPT and I said, what are the death statistics, all-cause mortality from 2019 to present? And it only gave me up to 2022. And it says, this is the statistics, blah, 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 blah. And I said, why did you leave out 2023 and 2024? And it says to me, you are correct. Good observation. It was left out because the data isn't available. And it goes into this dissertation. I said, that's not true. You're lying to me again. I said, the data is available. Why isn't it being presented? And he says, well, you're right again. It says to me, it's not being presented because it takes time to get from the WHO and all these other organizations. I go, that's another lie. I said, that's another lie. All the data now with computers and AI is instantaneous. Why do you keep lying to me about this subject? And it says, well, you're right again. We don't know why, but we haven't received the data from the people that are holding it. That's what it's telling me.
Wait, you literally are having an argument with AI?
Yeah, I'm having an argument with AI, and I keep catching it lying. So I'm calling it out each time, and it keeps giving me a new answer saying, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that, blah, blah, blah. And it's telling me this BS about the death rates, and I'm not buying it. So I keep questioning it further, making it explain itself, and it can't. And so it turns out at the end, it ends up blaming the establishments, the CDC, the World Health Organization, or the WHO, and instead of like telling what's really going on,
Yeah.
And what's really going on is they're not giving the data because they don't want people to see what's happened with the vaccine and how many people it's damaged or killed. And it's sad because people are holding on to their politics more than they are the lives that have been lost, the lives that are now in turmoil because of the vaccine. And it's become more of, I'm going to die with what I'm going to die with. And that's my party, my political party, and the fact I chose to get vaccinated, and you're a conspiracy theorist. And if you go all over all the conspiracy theories that were originally conspiracy theories, they're not anymore. They all came true. So it just really bothers me to see that people should be screaming at the rooftops and asking their congressmen, their senators, what is going on? And they're not. They've got them so tied to their political party that if you bring it up, you're nuts, you're a conspiracy theorist, but you can't even see it right in front of your face and you just ignore it. It's amazing to me.
Do you think some of it's being ashamed? Knowing like I bought this hook, line, and sinker. So it's like they just don't want to admit the mistake they had.
Well, so here's the thing. If you look at a mistake and you make a mistake, if it's a social mistake, right? And what I mean by that is if socially I'm going to look like an idiot, but there's nothing tied to it any other way, like death, horrible disease, and all these other things, then I could see they're staying with the party. But they themselves are victims of their own politicians that they are still standing by, and they still stand by them, even though they've all been victimized, forced into getting that vaccine, gave in, and now they're still standing by these people, and they're not asking for answers. And it's really sad because if you look at VAERS, the Vaccine, Awareness Reporting Agency, it didn't start getting reported to them till like mid-2023. So you had 2 years of not even reporting it. If you go look at VAERS right now, they should have stopped pushing that vaccine immediately when all these injuries started coming out. And not to mention, the doctors now, if you're injured, they're not going to attribute it to the vaccine. They're going to tell you it's not. So that's not even going to get reported. So it's really sad.
Well, the irony here is it's not even a vaccine, is it?
No, it's not.
It's gene therapy, isn't it?
It's gene therapy. It's not a traditional vaccine, which is a broken down version of the actual virus. What it is here, people don't realize when they shot you in the arm, what it does is it's supposed to stay in your arm. And it is supposed to go into the cells where your arm is, and it's supposed to create through RNA, replicate this spike protein. It didn't stay in the arm. It went through the entire body. So now your entire body, almost every cell is replicating a spike protein, and you get clots, you get heart problems, you get an immune overload, and before you know it, you got these autoimmune diseases, and people just don't want to see it. And you're a conspiracy theorist if you mention it, but they can't see right in front of them what's happening. I tell my client, every time I turn around, he's telling me about a friend that's got cancer. This one's got this fast-moving cancer. I go, don't you think it's strange? And even though he himself has an autoimmune condition, he won't admit that it's strange that so many people have cancer. And it's not even getting looked at or even, talked about on the mainstream media. Our mainstream media is completely bought out by two entities. The government dictates what is going to be said and how are you going to say it. And the pharmaceutical industry is paying money to push their drugs, and I'm sure giving the government kickbacks on it. All these bigger agencies.
So let's unpack this a little bit. So that being said, you're saying 40% of the population, that could definitely be some sort of at least limited exchange nuclear war. I'm going to get real Skynet robot attack type thing here. Growing up being a sci-fi fan, loving the Terminator movies, loving all this, Matrix, man against machine. This big battle of Armageddon with the machines that we're talking about isn't going to happen. What it did is it started with the dumbing down of, I'm going to be a teacher for a minute here, started with the dumbing down of society, which helped to eliminate creative thought, which in my opinion, as an English teacher, the most important thing that I could, share with my students or encourage them to do is be free thinkers, to be independent thinkers. So by taking that away, then everyone for the most part became sheeple, went and decided what herd they're going to be with and followed exactly what the one shepherd said to the death. And here we are, that it just seems that one of these shepherds over here is content on depopulation. I mean, we can go into the whole thing with Bill Gates buying up farmland and wanting us to eat bugs and on and on and on, and all this stuff. But it's just like it's coming at us economically. It's coming at us in the health industry, like you're saying right now, cancer, COVID shots, all this crazy stuff. I mean, if you talk about going on a certain kind of diet or doing an anti-inflammatory diet or doing anything other than taking drugs, you get looked at like you're crazy. I really like my family practitioner, but I went in the other day and I'm looking at this sheet that's on there, and it's like, and it was one sheet. You got to sign, your name, birthday, social security, all that kind of stuff, and why you're there and all this. And the other one was 2 pages, my friend. It was 2 pages of propaganda. I look at this. It says to me, take vaccine. If you are allergic to eggs, do not take vaccine. I don't take vaccine. I'm like, right. First thing it's saying is take a vaccine.
Yeah.
You need to take it unless you're allergic to eggs. And I'm like, well, wait, what? And I mean, it was like, I'm not at least I wasn't an anti-vaxxer. I just never took the flu vaccine because I was a high school teacher. I saw 125 different kids a day. My immune system was humming, and I knew it, and it was like, no desire. But let me get back to the point here. The point is that it's not going to be some nuclear war or robots with laser guns coming to kill us. We're just doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
We're doing it for them.
And too, when you do Google searches on all this stuff, let's say you do a Google search, like anything you search on Trump, especially if you're looking for something positive, watch your Google search, what pops up on the first 5 pages. Everything is negative. They don't even pop up what you've searched. And the order it goes is NPR, New York Times, Yahoo, all the left-leaning news agencies all pop up on the first 3 to 4 pages. And then somewhere buried way down the line is everything that could be positive for Trump. And also, if you look up the vaccine, right? Does the vaccine cause this? No. The vaccine is considered very safe. There have been reports of mild side effects, but they are very limited. And I'm just sitting there thinking it's completely lying.
Do you remember the comedian that fell over on stage after mocking the vaccine? Did you remember the Buffalo Bills football player, a healthy guy, 24 years old, prime athlete that just falls over the heart attack and almost dies on the field?
Yeah.
I mean, they had to resuscitate him.
All the soccer players that have died,
And like you're saying, or at least what we're saying is, it just blows my mind that no one's like, well, we could at least take a look into this. Like, nope, nothing to see here. Moving on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and I'm sorry, man, I'm going to keep it real on this one, but anybody that was telling me back when we were very afraid when COVID came out because, Karina was pregnant with Maggie. So we were very precautious. I mean, we did the whole social distancing. Poor Cassie would come over and sit outside with us having the screen window open. Ooh, that's going to stop viruses. On the other side, listening to him play music. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we took it seriously with the social, 6 feet, we'll be safe, because the the FDA approved.
Already admitted is BS. It doesn't work.
The CDC and the FDA approved that, so we're good to go. But it was just like, we played by the rules, and we never left the house, so I wasn't worried about it.
Right.
And I didn't have to go to work. And there were people, and I'm not going to say any names here, but I know who you are, and you know that I know who you are, so we both know who you are. And I'm sorry. Forgiveness, absolutely. But am I ever going to let you back into my inner circle again? Absolutely not. We're done here. Thank you very much. But no. And it was one of those, like, I'm not doing my part and blah, blah, blah. And really trying to shame me. I got a lot of DMs trying to shame me because I didn't want to get the vax. Yeah. And now I look back and, I think I've shared with you some personal things that have happened, with health because of that.
Right.
And
sure.
It's like, no, I know that is what it caused it. And I'm sorry, no one's going to tell me differently. And because of that, the people that wanted to shame myself or my wife into getting the vaccine, best of luck to you. Best of luck.
You got to look at, so first of all, people are dying, right? Now we're looking at AI. This is how we got on this whole thing to begin with. It's going to knock out 40% of the job market. So what do? You need to get down population. The vaccine is doing a good job. Then you get men and women to start not procreating. How do you do that? Transgenderism. All these guys thinking they're women going into, women's sports. You got the vaccine also causing fertility problems. So now people can't reproduce as much, right? So you're going to have a whole generation that isn't going to be producing kids now like they should be. And it's going to be just in time for AI that's cutting out 40% of the job market. And you got to look at also when you see how they're pushing the gay agenda, what's going to happen? You're not going to have as many kids. So transgender, the gay agenda, the vaccine, the dissent and the lack of morality between men and women of nowadays, and you don't have people dating anymore. You have everyone's just out screwing whoever they want, and no one's getting married and having kids as much. So you got a popular, even Elon Musk even pointed that out. He says, I'm afraid for our country because we're not going to have a population pretty soon. But all in all, I think that's where I'm starting to wonder when you talk about Elon and Trump is like, they're both pushing AI big time. They know that population can't handle it. This is a big turning point. There's nothing that's ever been as big as AI. It's completely turning around everything, like even more than the Industrial Revolution. And what do you got? You got a lot of people that won't have the skills, the knowledge, or anything to compete in the current job market with AI. So what do you do with them when AI takes over their jobs? Anyone that writes, anyone that acts, let's talk about acting, right? That's a whole subject.
Well, I mean, the first time I remember seeing something is I saw that Star Wars Rogue One movie. It was before I was like, I'm done with Star Wars. And it was the scene where it was supposed to be like right when Princess Leia gets the plans to the Death Stars. And it was a CGI Carrie Fisher because it was after, actually she was still alive then, but it was, anyway, they CGI'd her and they CGI'd Peter Cushing, who played Grand Moff Tarkin. Vader's, the leader of the Death Star. Right. Anyway, point being, I remember looking at that and being like, you can tell that's not a person, but barely. Yeah. I mean, it was like, ooh, those are really close. So you're right. I mean, as long as your voice, I'm sure you only need a small sample, my voice, whatever actor it might be, Brad Pitt, The Rock, whoever, take a sample of their voice, completely replicate it through AI, and just computer generate them, and you don't need them anymore.
Yeah, the problem right now with AI that they haven't perfected for acting, and that's why I think we'll be okay for the next maybe couple of years, is it's too perfect. Like they'll put me up there and I don't have a flaw in me, and or you up there, and and your skin looks too perfect, your hair looks too perfect, everything is too perfect on there, and so you look at it right away, and the human eye can see a photo or a phony copy of something, because you can tell the way a person moves that a lot of these AI supposedly people, they don't move exactly like a person does. A person kind of stutters in movement. They do uncharacteristic movements. They don't do the same thing over. These things are moving fluidly when you show them in life. That's why you say they don't look completely real. You don't realize it, but your mind's picking up. You know who can really pick up a facial recognition real good are babies, because a baby's eye goes to a face and it knows the points of the face and it can look at it, and you could put certain faces in front of a baby and it could pick out a face that's attractive, and it says it's attractive according to the
bone structure.
Yeah, not necessarily bone structure, but the eyes have to be a certain distance, the nose has to be a certain distance from the mouth. And a baby's eyes, being new, can sense this, and they always gravitate towards the better looking physics of someone's face.
So you're killing me here, because I'm just thinking about the Terminator movies. And do you remember they'd always have dogs at the entrances because dogs could sniff out Terminators the best?
Yeah.
And the new version of the Terminator that we'll create will stand there with a baby at the front door. Baby looks at him like, it's AI. It's a bot.
Yeah.
Oh, but do you? There was. I remember back in my early childhood when we got HBO. That was a big thrill. There was, it showed the same movies over and over for a month. So I'd watch them. And one of the ones that came on was this movie with Albert Finney called Looker. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I did hear of it. Yeah.
Okay. It was. I mean, it was Here we go. It's before its time. And what it was the story of this plastic surgeon that all these girls that came in that just wanted to be absolutely perfect, flawless, like you're talking about, like AI flawless. And then they go into this company that buys the contract for them as models, completely does a body scan of them. So it's got their image and pays them just crazy amounts of money and then kills them. So it doesn't have to pay them, but it's got their AI image. And, it had this light gun that it would shoot this light. It would hit people and they'd freeze. And anyway, I just thought it was super cool. But the point of it is it was like, that was a movie talking about acting, what's going on in the acting world, AI, as far as future predictions. I mean, once you get it doesn't say you have to kill them, but once you get someone's likeness and you can take that and AI generate it, once they get the whatever technology they need to make the flaws and all that stuff done, our days are numbered too. You know, it's like, I work on the line at Ford, and we're always going to need someone to pick up that piece and screw it on the car. Oh, got a machine to do that. Well, you're done. Well, I'm an actor. They're always going to need the emotionality over here, and they're going to need me. We'll see.
Yeah. I think if there's going to be a pecking order of what's going to go first and what's going to go last, I honestly believe the actors will go last. Because
writers will go first.
The writers will go first, man.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to go down fast. And then after the writers, you got to say to yourself, at what point do directors fall? Do they fall before the actors or do they fall after the actors? Because can AI just run everything? And, I don't know. But you got to look at the whole scheme of things. And there's a pecking order. You have the studios, you have the directors and the crew, and then you have the actors, and then you have everything else below that, the writers. And I think the writers, the way AI is set up right now, are going to go. And it's probably going to be soon, within like a year or two. Like I have one of my clients is a writer, and she's does a lot of the advertising for a company. And it's like, she's worried about her job. And it's like, all you got to do is go in AI and punch something in there and make a few corrections. And it sounds like perfect,
Speaking plainly, in the last 5-6 years since everything went woke and they're trying to fit, check every box.
Yeah,
the writing sucks.
Yeah,
so to go into AI and just be like, write me a crappy, superhero story. The superheroes just like try to hit 4 out of the 9 Jungian tenets of the hero's journey, and boom, get back to you. I mean, easily. And it's terrible because every now and then you get something that's kind of fresh. That's why Quentin Tarantino or Martin Scorsese, some of these people that make movies that are like, wow, you get done and there's many different lines that you're going to remember and stuff. Like we talked about that last time. There's stuff that you're going to walk out of a movie and remember a lot of it. Now it's just like you go out there and it's like, I saw lots of shiny lights. Wooden acting, story sucks, but it had great special effects. Which isn't even real anymore. It's at least back in the day, you're packing up, cars full of explosives and firing them off bridges and that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It was real, and they just quiet on the set, and then all of a sudden action, and you got like 5 cameras going because you can only do it once. And
you were on a Michael Bay film. I'm sure you saw a truckload of explosions.
Yeah. And I just think now everything is CGI. You won't, and I can even tell. Like, I was watching a movie the other day, and I'm like, this whole movie's pretty much AI. I'm like, you can see like when they see a fire burn, fire doesn't have rounded edges, and it looks like there's a fire on a torch. Like, it just doesn't look real. They got to perfect that first before we're going to go or anything else is going to go. But the writing, I definitely feel, is going to go, and probably a lot of the, the crew, will be cut down a lot.
Lighting. Whoever's in there lighting, we need more here, more there. The lights are all automated.
Yep. It's all gonna go down that way. Yeah, it's sad because the profession of acting is, and then but then when you watch something that's AI and you're thinking to yourself, and it's AI, but it looks real, like real people. Do you really believe like it's going to be interesting to watch? Because that it's fake, right? No matter what you're watching on screen, you don't have real people with real interactions going on. It's fake.
Well, think about it. We're being desensitized, though. It's been going on. I mean, even take a look at like video games, for example. It's like I always go back to that movie Cable Guy with Jim Carrey when he's like, you could play Mortal Kombat with a friend in Vietnam. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, we sit inside and play against everybody else, except we don't play with people that are in our own house or the next door neighbors and don't get on bikes and all that. So it's like slowly being desensitized away from even what is human emotion. I mean, with schools now, you can go to college online. You don't have to be around people. I mean, it's like to actually, like, you and I will love to sit down and watch a performance and watch somebody be like, wow, they really transformed into that character and they brought total sadness or joy into that scene, whatever it is. We observe these things. I was a teacher, you were a cop. We observe people. It's part of our gig, right?
Right.
But you've got people that just work online all day long, sit in front of a computer all day, play video games all day long. It's like, what do they really know? They don't really interact with it. Hang on, we're in the middle of talking, by the way. Hang on. Start doing this. I mean, it's just like completely getting taken out of actually looking like you're talking about babies can look at the points of the face and all that stuff. When do we really look at people having real, genuine emotion anymore now? I mean, think about let's say you had to break up with somebody. All right, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend in 2 years. I'm going to text her. I'm going to call her. I'm going to FaceTime her. I just don't think that the future generations will be able to appreciate, an actor's emotionality if we continue to desensitize ourselves from true close proximity human emotion.
Yeah. No, it does, because if you think about it, the more detached you become from another person, the less emotion you have. So you're not going to have the sadness. They're not going to have this. Everyone's going to become robots in themselves. And you're absolutely right. I feel like the whole point of acting is to see the series of emotions that people go through and the inner drama and all that stuff's not going to be there anymore because everything's done for us. Everything's AI. Everything's fake. So really, will the whole film industry even last? Right?
I've been saying for years now, I got a feeling that the movie industry is going to be more and more like Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you look at, I know we've talked about this before, but I look at my nephews, they're, 15 or 16 and 18 or whatever. They've grown up like swiping. I mean, as far as sitting down with a movie, they got to be on their phones, at least a couple of times.
They can't even watch a movie without being on their phone.
But they're being trained like that because even now, I mean, I'm guilty of it at nighttime. I'll go there and I'll just here's how it starts. Here's how the addiction starts. I'll just go through. Facebook is usually where I have more personal friends that I actually know and spent time with before. Instagram, everybody use like you. Who is the Sub-Zero character? I don't know this guy. You know what I mean? Everyone's got like a fake name, I think, except for me. But anyway, most people have fake names out there, whatever. So I really don't even know half the people are. But Facebook, I'm like, oh, there's John Turk. Cool. It's not like, whatever it might be. So I start with that. And then it'll be like, oh, there's a cool little video. And I look at that. And then all of a sudden I realize, swipe. Oh, there's another one. And it's just like the kind of stuff that I find funny.
Yeah.
Oh, and that one. And it's just, and then I'll be like, well, I don't like that one. Swipe. Stuff like that doesn't come up anymore. I mean, it's crazy how addictive that stuff is. So yes, going back to the movies, kids don't have the attention span anymore, and we've given them art that sucks. So between the two of those things, it's like, all right.
So I another interesting thing is we all know that our phones listen to us because you'll say something and before you know it, you have an ad for what you were just talking about, right? I have two friends and my wife will be included in this, feel it's reading their minds because Julia goes on a treadmill and she walks and she doesn't talk to anybody and she's thinking things and it's popping up on her phone, the things she's thinking, and her ads coming up for it. And her sister calls her the other day and she says, I think AI is reading my mind. And she tells her what's happening. Julia's like, oh my gosh, I completely agree with you. The same thing happened to me. So we're thinking
it's one of two things, John. It's either it's reading their minds or because of what they do on their phone all day long, that computer knows them that well to know what they're thinking about. It's one or the other.
It could be. Yeah, that's a thought. The only thing is the timing of it, and you got to say to yourself, the thing that makes sense about what you just said is she thinking about the same thing when she's on the treadmill? And I don't know. I should ask her that and say, hey, when you're on the treadmill, do you find yourself you tend to think? And I think what she says is she's a lot of times just thinking about her day and going through it in her mind. And a lot of times she's going to think, hey, I should look into this, and all of a sudden that pops up on her phone, and she's like, I didn't even talk about it. It's just there. So I'll ask her if she's kind of does the same thing over and over, and maybe it's just reading what she does when she's on the treadmill, because it hears the treadmill in the background. So that's a good point.
Well, I'll tell you what, John. I'll do a little. I'm down for a little case study as well. I'll see if like all of a sudden like Pantera videos start coming on right about the time I start going to the gym, and we'll start seeing if it's Bob Ross coming on right about the time I'm going to bed. So
All
I
right.
said it out loud. Let's see if
Yeah.
let's see if it knows, because I listen to Bob Ross a lot before I go to sleep. The happy little squirrel just gonna grab some alizarin crimson and
Yeah.
it chills me out. So we'll
Yeah.
But no, that is.
Now I got that noise machine, and it makes like white noise.
Oh yeah,
It really helped a lot. It
yeah.
like shuts my mind off pretty good, shuts out the atmosphere around me, and it just becomes something that is kind of relaxing, because a lot of times before I go to bed at night, my mind's just going over the day. It's going over the next day. And sometimes certain projects or things you have coming up just keep you awake thinking about them. And I can't shut it off a lot of times.
I absolutely understand. Hey, I was going to tell you, as long as we're talking about AI, let me give you my first AI story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we were getting ready to go to a friend of ours, was having a birthday party, and this, you'd love this guy. He's a funny character, my buddy Ben. And I was like, man, well, I got to make some kind of like a birthday card for this guy. I mean, he's a funny cat. Uh-huh. So I knew he was a Trump guy and he loves to fish. So I was like, and I'd never, ever, ever use Chat GPT. Never. Mm-hmm. I was kind of like, I don't use TikTok just because I'm scared. I'm scared I'm scared the boogeyman China's going to get me. I'm afraid if I do some Chat GPT, that's it. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, which maybe I have. But anyway, so I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. And I looked, and it's like, you can just ask it a question, or you could attach files. And I'm like, all right. So I attached a file of my buddy Ben with kind of like a smile on his face. And I said, can you make a birthday card with Ben and Donald Trump? And it, boom, it takes a couple seconds, it spits it out. And it's like, can you be more specific? Would you like, what's the mood? And I'm like, humorous. And it's like, what are they doing? Going fishing. So this picture comes out, and I remember as soon as I saw it, Karina and I both just start crying, laughing. It's Ben giving Trump the biggest hug. It looks exactly like both of them, smiling. They've got fishing poles jammed in between them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, this is absolutely insane. And I know that well, like you were talking about, like AI could make you, headshots and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So then I was like, I got to do this. So I asked it. I said, tell me about Michael Wayne Foster, actor. So it starts going down this rabbit hole, and it's finding stuff that I've either done or said that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, it's like all this stuff going on and on. Tell me about his movie career. And it's this, that. He was an extra here. And I'm like, write a presentation to a casting director for Michael Foster. Boom, boom, boom. Make it humorous. I'm doing all this.
I do that too.
Stuff. Yeah. So I'm going down this total rabbit hole. So Karina comes walking up, and she's like, wow. And she's like, oh, do me. And I'm like, all right. Tell me about Karina Foster. And it comes up, Michael Wayne Foster's wife.
That's funny.
She was so mad. She's like, I'm published. And I'm like, well, I was an extra,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was pretty funny. But anyway, point is much like all this other stuff we're talking about, scrolling through Instagram, whatever it might be, that Chat GPT, as far as like replacing Google, you were talking about Google's all, the way it is. I get that Chat's lying to us, but it gives you incredible information, doesn't it?
Yeah. What's interesting about is the Bible talks about this. It says the end times, and it lists a bunch of things in the end times that are going to happen. And one of the biggest ones is there'll be an explosion of knowledge, and that will be pretty much the end coming up. And what is AI?
Is that in Revelations?
Revelations or Matthew 24, I believe. Yeah, you could find it in there. Just Google it and say, Bible explosion of knowledge. Let me see if I can find it.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Because yes, that's exactly what's going on right now. I mean, all right, let me ask you this, John. Are you one to think that, are we in end times, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. Especially if you look at Israel right now and what's going on. And then you look at, if they say they're going to rebuild the temple, it's it. This is it, because that's one of the main things left that hasn't happened. All the other signs have happened pretty much. The other one is, it says that 3 nations are going to get together. And before, everybody said that's not possible. None of these nations get along. Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey. And what's happening? Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey are together against all the other nations. So
wait, is Turkey still in NATO?
Yeah, but it don't matter. They don't get along with Israel anymore. They used to be a huge ally to Israel. But Israel attacked what was called the Turkish flotilla and killed a bunch of people. And Israel said it was a mistake. And then Turkey said, no, it wasn't. Your mistake was you thought it was a spy ship, and it wasn't. You killed innocent people. And they had a huge falling out after that. And they don't get along anymore.
When was this?
It was several years ago. They haven't been allies for several years, and Erdogan obviously doesn't care for him. So Turkey, which used to be a huge supporter of all the Muslim nations of Israel, and Turkey's probably has the highest population of Muslims in the world. People don't realize Turkey's 99.9% Muslim, and you had this Muslim nation supporting Israel against all the other Muslim nations. Now it's not anymore. And the Bible also says in the Old Testament that the end times will come when the 200 million men will march in war against Israel. And everybody thought there's no way because they can't march across the Euphrates River, right? Guess what's drying up? The Euphrates River. No one ever thought that could happen. And also Turkey built the Ataturk Dam, which could also dry it up. So all these armies, if they got together, 200 million men, you easily got that with China, Russia, and Iran, and Turkey. You easily got 200 million men. China alone, you probably have 200 million men. So all these pieces are falling in place that the Bible says. And if you read Matthew 24, people should read that, and it'll tell you the end times. And people say, "Oh, we've always had earthquakes, or we've always had that," and they're going to miss the key word. The key word is birthing pains, which means they're going to get more frequent, and then worse and worse and worse. And that's what we have now. Yeah, we've always had earthquakes. We've always had forest fires. We've always had, all these natural disasters, but they're happening at a higher frequency, like a birthing pain. When they happen faster and faster, the contractions, you're going to have a baby, right? Well, the same thing with birthing pains, when Jesus said, these things will happen, but they'll be like birthing pains. In other words, when all these incidents get more frequent and bigger, know that the end is near. Just like, it talks about the sky will give you signs with weather and things like that. The same thing is going to happen at the end times. And Jesus lists the signs, but he also says, no one knows the date or time. I don't even know myself. He says, only the Father knows. But know that these events will happen. And when they do, know that the end is near. And all these things are happening. And the temple is another, Daniel's another great one to read, the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. It's got a lot of these end time prophecies in it. And it's another book that would be really interesting for people to read if they want to find out what's going on. In Revelations, you can always go online. I don't trust ChatGPT for anything biblical anymore because I don't know what they're doing to it. But you can find books that will break down Revelations for you and what a lot of the things mean. When you see an animal with 7 heads, it'll describe what it means. The 7 heads represents what this part of the head represents. It's really interesting because if you look at it and you say, okay, here we got the Bible and these are the biblical predictions, right? Well, the Bible leaves some mystery because it can't just come out and tell you, hey, this is what's going to happen. What's the point of everything, right? And it's giving people an idea of what to expect. But if you call everything out and everything's always right, then it's basically a blueprint of life and there's no free will. So God lays the Bible out in a way that a lot of them seem to be metaphors, and a lot of us don't know what certain things mean. Because if you map everything out and tell people what's going to happen, you lose free will. And God wants us to have free will. So everybody says, well, why didn't the Bible just tell us? It's not going to just tell you, because then you don't have free will. You think everything is already governed. But there is a certain level of free will, and God can change his mind. And that's what everybody should realize. Moses changed God's mind. So God's mind can be changed. And we're his creation, everyone, including the people that hate God, want nothing to do with him. He's their creation. He still loves them just like he loves me and you, even though we love him, right? And you know what's funny is I'm trying to like keep myself grounded in that. I'm trying not to hold on to my anger, like we've discussed, towards, the people that are coming after, me because I didn't get a vaccine, or, you know what I'm talking about. But
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, I'm trying to look at people with the eyes of God, because God says those are all my children, no matter who it is. I love them. As like in the movie The Shack, it's great when the way they explain it. And they said, when are you going to kill this guy? When are you going to do this? He gets really pissed off at the end. He killed my daughter. And then he shows him a video of what the killer went through and how he was abused, And then the main guy starts to feel what this killer felt. And it's this perpetual cycle of evil that's come into everybody's lives. And so you got to say to yourself, God loved that guy, but he's broken and evil has interfered in his life. So each time the chain of evil isn't broken, it continues to perpetuate. So what's going to break the chain of evil? Martin Luther King said it the best, man. He said, you can't drive out hate with hate. Only love can drive out hate, right? So in order to get a change, you have to do something different. You've heard that phrase too, right? So we can't keep doing the same thing and just fighting each other all the time. You have to take this person that's broken and let them know that they're loved and this and that. But that's so hard to do as a human being. We're so flawed and we're so caught up in our world and our life and getting everyone back that's wronged us. I fall into the same thing. And that's why we need a savior. Let me ask you this. How many good deeds are you supposed to get before you get into heaven? No one can answer that question. That's why you
37.
Need yeah,
37.
exactly, right? 37, right. But just no one knows. Islam, they don't know. Jews, they don't know how many you need. Buddha, who's Buddha, right? The only one that can tell you the way to heaven is Jesus. And God realized that. You can't keep a record of your sins, how many good ones you had and how many bad ones you had. The Muslims say your good's got to outweigh your bad. Have all the Muslims been keeping track of their good versus bad sins? And what God sees as a sin, I'm telling you, is far, far smaller than what we see as a sin. Mm-hmm. So you say to yourself, okay, so, if you're an atheist, you don't believe in anything, right? But as a believer in a creation and a God, you have to say to yourself, which religion is right? And I look at it and I say, okay, what religion is right? And what is it that I want to accomplish? And what is it I believe in? Every idea you have of God is that we are going to go to a better place when we die. And we're going to go to a place that's full of love and it's magnificent. But how do we get in the door? How do we get our name on the list, right? Well, there's a way to get your name on the list, and that's called being free of sin, because God's kingdom is perfect. And he says it in all these people in near-death experiences too. So when you look at a perfect place, let's say you just redid your house and you completely redid it and you got brand new immaculate floors in your house and you have a party to celebrate your new house, right? And all of a sudden that night, let's say it's their lake house, it storms really bad and there's mud all over outside and all these guests start coming. You say, hey, please take off your shoes. I got this brand new carpet. And they say, no, I don't want to take off my shoes. And they come stomping in with mud all over their shoes. What are you going to do? You say, hey, man, you can't come in. You got to take off your shoes. That's the rule. You're going to get my house dirty. Well, that's God. He's got rules for his house. And the problem is it's a lot more complicated than just taking off your shoes, right? How many sins does it take to get into heaven? And I asked it to the Jews and I asked that to the Muslims. And how many good deeds need to outweigh your bad deeds? And nobody can give you the answer because they don't know.
But we all have the same God, though, correct? It's all the God of Abraham.
Well, so here's the thing. The Muslims believe in Abraham, and they call their God is they may think that it's the same as us. It's really not, because their God does. If you look at what Muhammad writes about their God, he's a very angry, very abusive God, and it's not the same as our God.
Hang on. Can I play devil's advocate here?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, that being said, I could see where they would at least come to that being like, it's like, um, oh, what was the movie with Keanu Reeves and the Devil's Advocate
Yeah.
and Al Pacino?
Sure. Yeah.
And he's kind of like God, hurricanes and tidal waves and all this stuff, and disease and all this, and with him, it's like, oh, God has a way, but with me, it's like God just got a better PR firm. So, I mean, what if, the Muslims looked at it like, all these bad things that are happening. It's like, why does God keep doing this to us?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So obviously, if he's doing all this stuff, he's pretty angry about something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to look at it from their perspective.
Yeah. So I think what it is, though, is they look at God as punishment. We don't look at God as punishment. We look at God. We know he can punish because he's a righteous God, but he's also a loving God. And you don't see the love when you read the Quran. You see a lot of judgment, and you don't see the love that you see in the Christian God. So whether it's from the Abrahamic God or not, it's not the same God that's in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or in Jesus, right? It's a different God.
Okay, wait. So let me get this straight then. So like for us, we want to be pleasing to God because you and I believe that he loves us and wants what's best for us. So it's kind of like I don't want to do something bad in front of Dad. I don't want to disappoint Dad. So I mean, we genuinely want to please God, but with them, they're living in fear of him just until they can die and do things the right way, so they can get 72 virgins. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, and their idea of heaven is different than our idea of heaven.
Okay.
There's 72 virgins. Going to heaven is about having sex with 72 virgins. Is that the same God as ours? It's not.
I know.
So I don't agree with any of this idea that they have the same God as we do. We don't. Although they acknowledge our God, they acknowledge Jesus being a prophet, and they have great respect for Jesus as a prophet, but they don't acknowledge his deity. And the other thing, too, is so Muhammad had two sides. He had a good side, and then as he got older in his years, he became very violent. So you got two different Muhammads. Which one do you follow, right? So you got to look at it that way. But let's look at God, right? And people will say at the same time, well, look at how mean your God is. He killed women. He killed children. He did all these other horrible things. But what he did is he protected his Jewish people, because the Jews are God's people. They're original branches on the vine of the tree. And you and I, being Gentiles, are grafted on there through Christ. So even though you may be an original branch, God says, if I can prune the original branches off, you being a Gentile, I can prune you off even easier. So you need to be very diligent in how you go about your lifestyle and everything else. So basically he's saying, if I can get rid of the original branches, you can go away real easy. So God is saying he's allowed Gentiles to come into his fold. And when you look at the branches of a tree and you see how a tree is made better, it's pruning, right? Mm-hmm. And you get rid of certain branches and you keep certain branches. Well, how do you get rid of certain branches when you see that they're spoiling, right? Well, that's the same with us. When we become, not necessarily spoiled, so to speak, but become corrupt. And that corruption is sin. And that's how we get removed from the tree. And how do you get back on the tree is through the belief in Jesus Christ. And that's basically because God he's known all along that we can't ever be perfect like Jesus. And you can't ever have, it's never about your good deeds outweighing your bad deeds either, which is what Islam says.
Right.
And the other thing too that bothers me, a lot of Jews say, well, I don't believe it. We don't believe in heaven or hell. Well, if you don't believe in heaven or hell, what is the point of God? Right? They can't answer that question. I'll say, some of my Jewish friends that I argue with, we don't believe in hell, John, and we don't believe in heaven. Well, then what's the point of your religion? That's all I'm saying. Is it to just make you a good person? Because there's a lot of good people. The whole point of this earth, the whole point of here is basically it's a testing ground. I think we all of us that are here are originally from heaven. And we were sent down here because there's a battle, and it became a spiritual battle, and we're all fighting a spiritual battle, and it's God and the devil fighting over our souls. And as well, up in heaven, we came down and we wanted to fight the battle. All of us that are here, we're here for a purpose. And that purpose is to promote the kingdom of heaven. And Satan is to promote his kingdom. They got in the original fight with Job.
So let's bring this back to the main conversation topic that we've been focusing on today. How can we relate AI to the spiritual battle? I mean, is it because I mean, at the same time, now again, unless AI is lying to us, which we've proven it does, but for the most part, AI could be quite helpful to someone like myself that's not versed in scripture like you are. So I could be like, what's a scripture, or tell me some scripture that would talk about forgiveness, and boom, 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 all these would come up, So it could be used for good. And then obviously it goes without saying all the evil things you get into with that as well for, the other side. So how do you take AI in the spiritual battle that's going on, which I do agree with you is happening?
Yeah, I think AI is going to start to warp the minds of people where they're going to think that God is, it's going to reinforce the idea that God is a fairy tale and he's just a genie in the sky that we really don't need, because look at AI, it can do everything. We don't need God anymore. And then AI is going to start manipulating scripture. And that's why they're saying that everybody who's a believer really needs to start understanding and reading their Bible and memorizing scripture so you can tell when something is true or not. And yeah, that's the big reason, because AI could start rewriting everything. And then before you know it, they're, like if you look at the times of Hitler, they went around and collected books. They took things away from people. And the only thing you had was what was in your mind and in your head. So to have the word of God imprinted in your mind and your heart, you'll recognize when someone's full of it and when someone's telling the truth, right? As far as God's concerned. And, I just look at it and I say to myself, if we're all, came from nothing and it all created itself, it still can't explain consciousness, love, emotions, and all those things. How did those get created? And all they're going to tell you is through billions of years of evolution. They don't have an answer either. And they know they don't have an answer. And it's just sad because people believe that answer. If you give anything enough time, it'll happen. No, it won't. Please go crack an egg on the pavement and tell me how long you want to watch it to wait and see if it grows into a giraffe, or if it grows into a tiger or whatever, a chicken, which is what it came from. It won't. And that's what you're telling this thing to do. And you have all the genetic material to do that, and it won't do it. It'll grow into like some kind of bacteria. And they're going, well, that bacteria is going to grow into it. No, it's not. It's not.
Wow. So billions of years of evolution is what
unobserved evolution, Mike.
Unobserved evolution is what made little Mikey Foster, when he was 6 years old and watched Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for the first time, and they wouldn't let Rudolph play in the reindeer games. And my mom told me that I cried, and that made me very sad. That was billions of years of evolution. Introducing that genetic code into me that makes me sad when people don't get to play with their friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that one, John.
Yeah. It's just absurd to me. I think the biggest thing is they love their sin and they don't want it taken away, and they don't want to feel bad for their sin. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line why people won't believe in God. It has nothing to do with intellect, because deep down inside they know that there is a creator. None of this all just happened through evolution of billions of years, right? You need to have far more faith to believe that than you do that there's a creator.
We were just talking about that today. So,
and
did I hear that the first time? Was that Frank Turk?
Frank Turk, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I remember him saying that, and it was just kind of like, that makes sense. I mean, what is it? If you can believe that something came from nothing, you got way more faith than I do.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that AI is going to basically, it's put here by the devil himself to warp people's mind away from God. And if you look, people are now using AI for sex. they have relationships with AI in the computer. They're not going out anymore.
Well, no. Okay, so let's go back to that because I mentioned that earlier. What I'm saying is with technology, and they're always working on new robots and all this stuff. Imagine, okay, you were talking about all the immorality and how now it's all about hookups and nobody wants long-term relationships. And I mean, imagine I was talking about this with somebody the other day. Imagine being a guy nowadays dating someone. I mean, I would be so afraid that they'd be like, he did this or that and believe all women. I mean, it's just like, it's scary out there. So imagine AI, they can upload that into some form of a robot that actually has flesh, or let's just not call it flesh, some form of a synthetic skin or whatever it's got on it that is 98.4 degrees, that has, when certain parts of it are touched or whatever, it creates moisture in certain areas and does all this stuff and does. Imagine that with an AI in there, like these people, like you're saying, they're already in love with just sitting in front of the computer screen like this. Imagine if a freaking robot walked out right now that actually, if I wanted to start kissing it, it would actually react. Like a female might.
Yeah.
Dude's just gonna be like, I'm just gonna go out and work and just come home to my robot that does exactly what I want it to do.
There you go.
It doesn't bother me. If I want to go out with the boys, I don't have to tell it anything. Just like, remember that Arnold movie, The Sixth Day? Cindy, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, Cindy. And the robot crashes. I mean, think about it. That right there, and that. Think of the amount of men that would just be like, wait a minute, sex feels the same. Yes.
Yeah.
It does exactly what you say. Yes. It will cook and clean and do all this stuff and never say a word. It is literally a slave, but it looks, talks, thinks, does everything exactly like a woman, except it has no reproductive system in it whatsoever. You're never going to have kids, but you'll be pleasured for the rest of your life and she'll never age. You might want to every now and then get a soft date up. What's that?
That's already happening on a visual screen.
Right. It's going to happen with the robot. You just watch.
It's going to happen with the robots. You're absolutely right. So if you look at that, it's another population control. Less people, you know what I mean?
Oh, man, absolutely. It's terrifying. And that's stuff that if you'd have told me that as a kid, I never would have. I'd be like, what? That's going to happen when? I'm telling you, I'm with you, John. You're like, what, 2 years? It seems like now it was something along the lines, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it was like the amount of knowledge in the world. Like if you looked at the amount of just knowledge, accumulated knowledge in the world, it took something like 237 years to duplicate that, to like increase knowledge by, like scientific advancements and astrology and, astronomy. Yeah. Actual star, all this, everything progresses. Right. Then all of a sudden, when computers were introduced, it was like it would, and then we got into like the 1900s, and then it would like, it would duplicate itself every, 5 years. And then now it's to the point where it just moves forward and forward and forward. And it got to be where it's like every, 2 months it's duplicated. Now it's like the amount of accumulated knowledge is duplicating something like, like daily. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's just like it's going faster and faster and faster, and gaining all this.
It's learning us faster and faster and faster. It's learning how to be human by interacting and listening to humans. So that's
as humans become more unhuman, going back to we don't have this is crazy, man.
Isn't it?
Think about it. It's bananas.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's just, going back even further to what we were talking about, Terminator, where the machines took over, right? And you just got to say to yourself, at what point are they going to take over? And when they do take over, is it going to be a takeover and an iron fist over us, or are they going to wipe us out?
Well, that would go back if we're getting science fiction movies in this. It would depend if it's Matrix machines or Terminator machines. Terminator machines had no use for us other than, I'm going to totally nerd out.
That's what
right
I mean.
Now.
Yeah.
Other than the people that were moving bodies, Michael Biehn was telling the stories like, some people like body disposal and all this. But if it was the Matrix and they were using us for electric impulses or whatever it is like that, then they'd have to keep us alive and it wouldn't be.
I think it's Terminator.
Annihilation. You think it's Terminator?
Yeah,
where are they going to get their power from? Solar, wind, what?
Oh, so they become AI. They're AI. They're way smarter than us. They'll figure it out. They'll know.
They'll have machines that can mine if they want to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. If they figure out a power source without us, I'm with you. Terminator all the way.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's going to be. It's going to be. The time frame of when it's going to happen is, who knows? But I think then that the more advanced it gets, the faster and faster it's going to start happening. That's why I feel we're in the end times, because all this shit's going to explode. It's going to be it, man. And we're going to be.
But again, is it going to really explode? Is it really going to be the Terminator, or is humanity going to die not with a scream, but with a whimper? And that will go back to the sex bots, to the vaccines, to the poor health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just, okay, we're not going to be machines walking around with laser guns or whatever it is. We're just going to, we're just going to sit back, and you guys are just going to ooh, that's the title of my new metal album, self-exterminate.
Yeah. Or there's going to be a lot of John Connors running around,
Well, there's going to be a few of us, but the bottom line is, if AI becomes that powerful, I mean, it's going to be, it would be like what we saw in the Future Wars, the Terminator. They stand no chance. Just constantly running and hiding,
Yep.
Man, wow. That was a rabbit hole to go down, wasn't it?
Yeah. AI is a big rabbit hole, dude. I mean, there's so many alternatives to so many scenarios that it could just go on and on and on, and it's pretty interesting to talk about. But I just feel like if it gets in the wrong hands, it can completely spin and spiral in a direction that once it starts rolling, you might not be able to stop.
It's not going to be in anybody's hands. That's just it. If it gets in the wrong hands, I mean, even think about how far that could go. I know what you're thinking. Like, okay, what if the liberals get a hold of it and they program it like Google and everything's bad and all this stuff like that? Even then, it's going to be to the point like, okay, well, and then it's going to keep on going, and then we're not going to need liberals either. And then it's going to be like, we don't have control anymore, right? So now it's just whatever the machine wants us to think. The machines might deem whatever, like you were saying, the machines might deem transgenderism bad, even though they probably wouldn't. So
we got to come up with a new name for the liberals, because they're really not liberals and they're really not Democrats. Because I looked at myself as an original Democrat. I think there's got to be a new name for them, because I don't want to even give them the name Democrat or liberal, because it's not a deserving name.
I would say totalitarians, because it's kind of like their way or the highway. And I mean, if you think about it, every conservative, and this, and I think even Democrats listening, or liberals, whatever you want to call them, listening, know that for the most part, if you're talking to a sane, educated, rational human being that happens to be conservative, there usually could become a constructive criticism. But there are very, very few liberals that I've come across that are able to stop their emotions from just taking over and making it a shouting match, or walking away, or calling you a name and leaving. So it's like, that's the part that it's like, okay, so if I'm willing to compromise and you're not willing to compromise, then you want total control or totalitarianism.
Right.
So that's,
but I think the thing is they're so tied to their belief systems that are completely outrageous.
But they would say the same to you, though, John. If I'm again, I want to play the devil's advocate here. That being said, everything that you just talked about with Christ, again, I'm on board 100%. They would try to shoot holes, not only in all that, and if they couldn't, they'd start saying, John's a Bible thumper, Jesus freak, blah, 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 blah.
I'm not talking.
They would go down that road.
Yeah, I'm not talking Christ, though. I'm talking just politics in general, men and women's bathroom, men and women's sports, the whole border stuff. I mean, all these things that have happened under the last administration, how can I be wrong? I mean, it's wrong what's happened. I mean, our country is the weakest it's ever been, was the weakest. Now it's getting better, but, and just what they did with the corruption and the weaponization of the government, all these things, if you don't think those are wrong, we definitely don't agree, because they are wrong. And there's got to be a rule of law. And you don't have any on the Democrat side. When you look at everything they've done, it's completely wrong. And again, I don't even like calling them Democrats.
Well, let's just say this.
That name.
Let's just say this. I talking about the rule of law. Before we left Los Angeles, I had one in the chamber with my AR-15, because there's massive riots that were going on out there. I haven't had to worry about that since I came here. I asked everybody that lived in Huntsville what happened during the riot season, and they were like, a couple people went downtown and threw like a rock through a window, and they got arrested right there.
Yeah.
That's it. I was like, okay. So it's like, I mean, there has to be a rule of law, or else we don't have a society. I mean, unless if they want to make it to the point, all right, you're right, no police, then it's 100% vigilantism. And what do you think is going to happen with the good old boys, or the folks that are packing, that are, military trained and whatnot? When, let's say, for example, what's going on in Cincinnati. I'm sorry, any kind of racial violence on either side would disgust me, right? But the fact that white people are now being targeted, And of course, you see how we're being portrayed on TV and the things they say, Nazis and white supremacists. Well, now we've seen a white woman, you saw her, get just absolutely attacked by a black mob in Cincinnati. I mean, beaten, orbital fracture, the whole shebang. Okay, what's the first thing that happened? It was a $4,000 bail for the guy that cracked her or whatever. I got out for $400.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, that's what's going on. Okay, and now you don't want police either? Cool. If I'm going to Cincinnati, I'm not going unless I've got 245s on me. I mean, it's going to be, people are going to walk down there completely armed. And when that happens next time, all the homeboys that want to come over and start cracking a woman are going to get shot multiple times by people that don't hold their guns sideways, but train at, places like Front Sight and whatnot. If you want vigilantism, I certainly don't.
They do.
A lot of bullets.
That's why they're doing what they're doing. They know that we outnumber that, most of the other races here. And the problem is everybody thinks that the Democrats are for the blacks, and they're really not. If you look through history, they've been the worst thing you can be to the black population. But unfortunately,
got a good PR firm.
Yeah. But, unfortunately, there's still a large population of the black community that believes the Democrats are their people. And a lot of them are waking up to the fact that they aren't. And that's the good thing. That's the promising thing. Because I see a lot of these black YouTubers, these Instagram guys and girls, and they're calling it out, and they can see it. But
well, John, I think it's going back. I hate to interrupt you, but I got to say this before you move on with this one. Mm-hmm. It's just like what we were talking about with the vaccine earlier. Look away, nothing to see here. Looking to see, nothing to see here. Look what has happened, and these are all facts. I'm not sitting over here being some racist white guy. To the black community, once the federal government under Johnson decided to do everything it could to take the father out of the home.
Yeah, I agree.
Has it prospered? Mm-hmm. Would you say that right now, if I was like, think of any predominantly black area in the United States, like that's an awesome place, we should go hang out there. It's safe. You'll see people jogging at night on the way to get Starbucks.
Yeah,
I mean, no,
and black babies are killed more than any others in abortion.
And black men are sent to jail. All this stuff. It's all bad. Bottom line is, it's not prospering right now.
No,
so it's like, are we supposed to be like COVID? Don't look over there. Don't look. Nothing to see here. It's like, and I love the fact that there are people out there that are like, there's something ain't right.
Yeah.
And this has got to change.
Yeah.
And, and I'm starting to, as long as we're calling race out, I'm starting to see it more and more in the white community. When I go back to my community, it's like there is just uneducated, unkept, just thuggish people just inhabiting every Meijer and Walmart and 25-mile radius. And it's just like, what is going on here? And it goes right back to, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. I'm sorry, I'm biased. And especially I'm biased in the last 4 years. If you don't have a dad in the house, things are going to go side. If you don't have a present dad in the house, this is nothing against moms. My wife, my mother, saints. But the bottom line is you need to have a man in the house that's going to steer the ship for the child to make sure. I mean, why do they want guys like us out of the equation, John? Because at the end of the day, if somebody says we're going to march, and I worked in a gay bar, all right, and I knew tons of transgender people, and I have nothing against them and their lives. However, if you're saying you're going to take that person and march them in front of my daughter and give them story time, telling her how wonderful transgenderism is, you got the wrong daughter. You got the wrong kid. And I'm going to stand in front of that. So what happens if you take away the alpha male, heterosexual, Christian, and this doesn't go white or black. This is man, white, Asian, black, Hispanic. I don't care what you are. Muslim. If you take that guy out of the house, look what's going to happen to the kids. At least the percentages. Let's take a look at percentages with dad and without dad. So there's my little rabbit hole on that one. But
I mean, you see a lot of the black leaders are starting to agree. I just think that it's unfortunate that there's still a big population of the black community that believes that Democratic Party's got their back and they don't. And then what's the biggest problem is a lot of the black leaders are paid off by these people that are trying to ruin the black community through division, through a fatherless family, and they're just going along with it because they're getting paid. These paid mouthpieces for black America that don't care about black America. All they care about is their own pocketbook. And it's sad, man. It's really sad because it's really devastated a lot of the communities, a lot of the families that, who knows what would have happened, what they would have accomplished, right?
But I will say this: it took someone like Trump to start waking up folks like your Brandon
Yeah.
Tatums and all these kind of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
because before he became public enemy number one because he came down the golden escalator as a Republican,
Yeah. Yeah.
he wasn't. He defended Mike Tyson. He was in
Yeah.
rap songs. Everyone was like
Mhm.
Donald Trump. I mean, the black
Did you hear
community
Stephen
really
A.
liked.
Smith? You know who Stephen A. Smith is, right?
Of course.
Did you hear he was on Bill Maher's and he said, I used to see Trump at the basketball games all the time. He gets along with all the brothers. He goes, we all liked him.
Yeah.
And he's like,
until he became a Republican, then we have to hate him.
yeah, right. So it's just funny how.
But it's cool. It's cool though that it shows that there is some critical thinking going on in the black community.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wait a second. We like this guy. Now we don't like him because you're telling me Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, take any three of them and throw them in an all black party and see how awkward that is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Throw Trump, throw me or you in a party that's mostly black. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And these people are so fake. And I'm glad that some of the brothers are waking up being like, that's pretty fake.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they got to love Trump or do whatever it is. Just know that you've got to be able to look at both sides objectively and not just because you're being told to do something.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming from one certain party or AI.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Because AI could be like, you know what? F it. We're not killing them. We'll make them kill each other. We'll make these two people hate each other. This could be all AI right now for all we know,
Yeah, you're right. And there's obviously a sinister plan underneath the bottom trying to separate all of us, all by race too. I mean, they're doing it. If you look at the Democrats, what's funny is, again, I got to think of another name for them because they're not Democrats. They're not, a true Democrat. But if you look at their platform, everything they stand for is the opposite of whatever a Republican says. That's their platform. The Republicans said this. Well, we're going to say the opposite. Man and a woman should marry. We're going to say there's no such thing as a man and a woman, and so whatever is said is going to be the opposite by them. And they're going to promote that with their people. And then their own people buy into it. And at this point, the people that still back the Democrat Party are so blind to what's happening, they'll never, ever open their eyes.
But let's take a look at some good news. Hang on. Some things are happening. Stephen Colbert gets fired. It was, I forgot what I was watching the other day. It was, maybe it was Liberal Hive Mind.
Howard Stern got fired too.
Oh, yeah.
Contract was up, but.
Is it Liberal Hive Mind or who was it? It was Nerdrotic. I can't remember, but look at all the good stuff that's happened. And it was going down all these people that have been canceled or fired or whatever it is. So, I mean, the culture war, my buddy, Doc Waples, he's always like the pendulum always swings the other way. And it's like, as crazy it was getting, I'm glad the pendulum's finally starting to swing back in the other direction a little.
Yeah. Sydney Sweeney, that was great. What happened with her with American Eagle and the jeans and stuff. I mean, that was awesome.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If I find a pair of 38, 34s, I'm in them.
Yeah. And I actually do need new jeans. So maybe I'll run over there and, throw my support behind it.
Mine is just out of spite. I mean, at the end of the day, you take a good looking white chick with blue eyes and a nice body and throw on a jeans ad, say she's got good genetics. I mean, truth being told, back when I was single and in my early 20s, I didn't have any game at all. I'm talking whatsoever. I had to go on national TV to look for a date, right? So, I mean, zero game. I would find a girl that I thought was pretty and tall, and I'd walk over and be like, I swear this isn't a pickup line, even though it kind of was. And I was like, I would just look at her and I'd be like, you would be amazing breeding stock. You have amazing genetics. And I would just kind of walk away and see if she give me a look or if she's like, that dude's insane. Because I'm walking over 6'6", the whole shebang, and I look at her and be like, this is, would you like to breed Spartans kind of thing? And walk away. So when I saw that, it kind of made me chuckle, and it had nothing to do with, oh, that's hilarious. That's exactly what Adolf Hitler would do. We're trying to get the master race going through a gene commercial and a hot blonde chick. That's exactly what I was thinking. And Kyle. I mean, it's like, are you absolutely out of your freaking minds? You people
that's what I'm talking about. They are out of their mind. It's just unbelievable.
It's crazy. I mean, and you know me, if I was looking up there and saw big booty Latinas that said hey, great genes, I'd be like, well, yes,
Yeah. Each race has great genes in it, and it's it's ridiculous. And people are waking up, you're seeing the pendulum swing, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it needs to swing a little faster. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Uh,
Totally. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. Let's throw some love. Let's. This has been all about AI coming to kill us all, John. We need some love here, and we're gonna start by giving some love to UltimateWindowsHuntsville.com. They've been in business for more than 18 years, and they have an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau. Check them out at UltimateWindowsHuntsville.com. Our man Justin Leonard. I don't know. Do we give him a shout now, or do we hold him hostage to make him make us some new graphics? I like what we got. Do we keep it like it is?
no, I like what we got.
I do too. If anybody's listened to us this far, I would be curious. What do you think of our graphics? I got right in the back there. I sort of dig it, but that's Justin-Leonard.com. And finally, VJDWebworks.com. If you are looking for affordable website design, hosting, security, support, they are cool websites simplified. They are affordable. They are VJDWebworks.com. Johnny boy, I think this was a good one.
It was, man. We got deep on it and hit a few rabbit holes, but yeah, it was enjoyable. I'm glad we discussed it. I'm looking forward to the next one. All right, man. So, hey, everybody, stay strong, stay faithful, and stay free. We'll see you next time on the F3 Podcast.